The spring session's over. Now time to put away 5 and 5 from 2020 and get on to the hand of competing for the SEC championship. We got Lon Phillips Sullivan on the line talking LSU football. The Tigers took to the field for their annual spring game in Death Valley. 1 year after spring games were wiped out across the country, it's good to see everybody in play, most of the SEC. This is the Saturday, including for the Bayou Bengals. Lon, how are we doing today?
It was great to see our Tigers again, Mark. So, of course, we're doing fantastic. How about you, my man?
I am doing well. And want to get the lowdown from you on what was meaningful, what mattered out there. I know Joe Burrow was not in uniform. He's got a rehab to work on himself and hopefully a better offensive line in front of him in 2021. But there for LSU, what stood out? We'll start there because I didn't see a play. So thank you for the link to the stream. And this is a complaint before we get into your analysis across college football and specifically in the SEC with everybody but Alabama playing on these SEC alternate networks and it being, you having to have a degree in espionage to be able to find where to watch a spring football game. Goodness.
Well, then my degree is still hopping, baby, because we were able to track that down and spread it to as many people as possible. It made me really glad to get as many people to be able to see the Tigers as possible, despite the stupid network agreements and contracts and all that. We were able to make it happen. LSU went out there, Mark. It was fun.
So what were the highlights?
I'd say John Trey Kirkland. I mean, this guy comes out there and goes for 16 catches and 209 yards and 2 scores. I mean, he's just making unbelievable catches from every quarterback, making these just giant, just skyscraping catches and getting all this yards after the catch, putting on the afterburners. This guy has speed for days. He's another super senior. A lot of people are talking about Dre Jenkins and a lot of different guys for that second wide receiver spot, Coy Moore, Trey Palmer, as we brought up last time. But once again, that's what I love about LSU is just as a fan too, is just the product is always so beautiful because you've got, the next man up could be the best man up. John Trey Kirkland going in there, it's his time, 16 catches, 209 yards from, making incredible grabs from every single quarterback, on display. I just couldn't say enough for the young man. Unbelievable display. And then you had this really interesting duel between Max Johnson and Miles Brennan. It looked like Miles Brennan was taking the lead there for a bit. He made this sick bomb touchdown to Kayshon Boutte. And, I think preceding that was another big play to Kayshon Boutte. And, before that, the LSU defense had just been absolutely mauling this offensive unit. And so, Miles kind of set Tiger Stadium alive and kind of got the team going, at least offensively. And, but then, Max Johnson gets into a big rhythm. And I think he completed it was 5 straight passes, ending in a touchdown, one after another. He was just slinging it all over the place. I think even the 2 sacks against him, one of those, he was definitely escaping the play anyway. And, obviously with the rule, they blew it dead, but he was escaping that play as well. Showed some great burst as well in the backfield, just able to kind of maneuver in that pocket, extend that pocket, kind of extend his base of operations in a way. I don't know how he was able to do that. Some of the plays he was making out there are very subtle. It's not like, look at me, I'm Max Johnson, look at the show I'm putting on. It's very team-oriented, very team-focused, but I loved what I saw from 180 yards, I believe it was. Let me look that up to get it. 111 out of 17 for 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. Miles Brennan finished 12 of 20 for 116 yards, 1 touchdown. But then, Mark, came the avalanche of turnovers. 2 interceptions from TJ Finley, who went 10 of 19 for 84. Garrett Nussmeier, 3 picks, 1 touchdown. 15 to 25 for 132 yards. Even though Nussmeier kind of let it loose with the 3 picks, I thought he made some stunning plays in the backfield, extending the play and then, making a few really gutty completions there. But LSU, man, this defense, Mark, I think, 6 turnovers they created, 5 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery. You saw Derek Stingley with the sideline interception. That's his 3rd, potentially 4th interception of spring. We know he had multiple picks before then. Jay Ward with his 4th pick of the season. Unbelievable. He even intercepted one that bounced off of a guy's chest who just barely stepped out of bounds. And he just quickly reacted and caught it up here for the pick in the end zone. And, of course they didn't count it, but you could hear Jay Ward freaking out, screaming into the camera, because it was just a very sick play that he made right there. He counted or not, he knows what he did out there. Just stack him up, Mark. Raydarius Jones had his first interception ever for LSU. This is his 3rd season with the Tigers, national champion freshman, alongside Jay Ward and Derek Stingley Jr., who all had picks. So you saw that 2019 class of DBU really show up today with 3 interceptions. But then you saw 2 linebackers pick interceptions up. Antoine Sampah coming into his 2nd season, high points to the ball. I think it was on a Nussmeier pass. Brilliant interception for Sampah. Huge play from him today. Derek Davis Jr. scoops one up after John Trey Kirkland uncharacteristically fumbled the ball. 16 catches over 200 yards, and then he did fumble it, and Derek Davis Jr. was right there, Johnny on the spot. But Jared Small, Mark. Jared Small. This guy was not even talked about. He's a really close friend of Clyde Edwards-Helaire from Catholic High, Baton Rouge native. Everybody's rooting for this guy. He'd always been in the shadows, kind of another 2019 freshman or maybe 2018 freshman, actually. So he's been with the team for quite some time. Obviously a national championship, but kind of a sideline dude. And Jared Small came out number 58 and just pummeled people in the face. Excited as I was about Jack Mashburn on offense, you take that type of excitement and that type of just total rooting for the guy and you move it over to the defense, and you got a guy like Jared Small. Jared Small, 15 tackles, 1 interception, 2 pass breakups, and 2 tackle for losses. This guy was just in the backfield at all times, stuffing plays, initiating the gang tackles. He was all over the place, Mark. Brilliant display from Jared Small. 10 of those tackles were solo. Just absolutely stunning. Damone Clark picked up 12 tackles today. He did look like the leader of that defense. It was fantastic to see him do that. Josh White, 5 solo tackles. All 5 tackles were solo. It was great to see number 10 kind of back me up there when he came up off the bench and just absolutely blasted some people. Sadly, Bug Strong was out for today's scrimmage. He was a late scratch, believed to be not serious injury, but there was no chances being taken. But that was a real hurting thing to not see him. But to be more in general, Mark, what stood out? That defense, baby. That defense was kicking ass and taking names. I think it was 13 passes defended today, 5 interceptions total. Just brilliant. And the sacks. I think there's 6. Let's count them here. 6, 7, 8, 9, around 9, 10 sacks today, Mark. Jaquelin Roy had 4 himself. And then B.J. Ojolari had a pair. Neil Farrell had 1. Jacobian Guillory had a big sack as well and a tackle for loss. Just expert defense today. Joseph Evans, he did not look like the best defensive lineman on the team, but outwardly, but on this, that's just on the surface. But when you watch what was going along on the penetration on the defensive line, Joseph Evans, whether he's the best defensive lineman or not, he's pretty damn good. he was influencing a ton in there. Mark, what stood out to me was that defensive line was doing a lot of this. Instead of just rushing on the outside, interior guys kind of stuffing and plugging the gap, which is just so easy to be able to game plan those protections against. You saw a lot of inside to out, outside to in, a lot of weird stunting, a lot of bizarre maneuvers going on there, Mark. I mean, Andre Carter is going to be tripping defensive coordinators out worse than a Grateful Dead show in the middle of 67. This guy he's going to have their head spinning, man.
If you noticed while you were describing that defensive play, I was just making sure that everyone understood sacks. We're putting the sacks in quotes. Most of the sacks that I've seen during these spring games, and I've seen quite a few now, Ohio State, Florida State, NC State, Miami, Clemson, a lot of these phantom sacks, but that's the way it is. You're going to protect the quarterbacks. So 4 of them played today. How many interceptions were in this game? It sounded like at the beginning of your dissertation, 10.
No, 5.
5. I could, seemed like it was going to take you 45 minutes just to describe all these interceptions.
Exactly, Mark. It was outrageous.
Is that a good thing?
You know, it only came from 2 of our quarterbacks, and it came from the 2 quarterbacks I expected the interceptions to come from, to be honest. Came from the freshman who's just letting it fly, who's just a total riverboat gambler out there. And then you got TJ Finley, who's had a problem with turnovers for a while. Oh, Lon, while Small was impressive, we didn't see Strong or Mike Jones Jr. Clark is pretty much penciled in too, but should be. Small was impressive, yeah, but that's my point, Devin, is that Small was fantastic when he really shouldn't be. So the point is you got just a layer of depth there. And if Jared Small is going to come into the spring game and pick up 15 tackles, that's outrageous.
Thank you for the question, Devin. We'll remind everyone else just to take up where Devin left off. You can leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics there in the live chat, and I will pass them on to Lon, and we'll dive in on the ones that I can answer as well, depending on the scope of the questions. So, Lewis Papp, it's just a spring game. Wait until they play Bama.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Even Alabama is a far away from playing us. Okay, a lot of things are going to change between now and then. I'm not afraid of Alabama. I don't think LSU's players are afraid of Alabama at all either. You go out there and you look at them. You saw an absolute. This defense was straight up mummifying people out there, Mark. They're straight up just testifying, as I said they would. This defense is going to let Alabama's Bryce Young do a damn thing out there come November. I think this defense is absolutely brilliant. 124th to 4th might be possible.
So wait a minute. We're going to back up about 3 sentences. This LSU defense is not going to allow Bryce Young to do a damn thing in November?
It looks like it, Mark. It looks like it. I mean, this defense is unbelievable. We have the best quarterback room in the country. He shut down all 4 pretty much.
Wait a minute. Who's got the best quarterback room in the country?
LSU.
Who's got the best quarterback room in the country?
LSU.
Ohio State? Oklahoma?
We got 4 guys, baby. 4.
I don't think your top 3 guys can play with Ohio State.
We'll see that when the college football playoff comes around.
Okay. So I'm going to jot down. Let me do this right now. Okay. LSU plays Alabama sometime in November. They typically do, right? Maybe the first or second week of November. So this is what we're gonna take a record of this. Everybody that's watching, hopefully about 1,000 or a couple thousand people by the time we post and so forth.
Take note.
I'm going to take note. I'm going to take a shot at Bryce Young's statistics against LSU.
Okay. Because that's the thing is Tua threw about 400 yards against us, when we beat them at their place. But here's the thing. He also threw for 17 incompletions and was extremely ineffective. And that was against one of our more average defenses.
Tua was ineffective?
Yeah.
Now, you had a big first half. You took a big lead at halftime, yes.
That 5-point win is, 46-41. That's very deceptive. It's very deceptive. There was a last-second touchdown there where Stingley fell down that made it look better. Stingley also fell down for another interception. Both times were complete incidental plays. Look at the numbers. Look at the performance. Tua was extremely ineffective against our secondary on third down in that showdown. That has nothing to do with what we're going to do this season with Bryce Young, though. That has nothing to do with it. This is a totally different season. Bryce Young's a totally different quarterback. And here's the thing. Let's don't anoint Bryce Young like he's, the god of quarterbacks. This will be his first year starting. I know how good Bryce Young is, believe me. Coming out of Matter Day, he's an absolute freak show. I've been educated beyond reason by Rashad Davis. Race John Davis's father. He's told me everything there is about Bryce Young. But here's the thing. That LSU defense is just looking incredible. I want to see what they'll do against Bryce Young. Here's the thing. It all comes down to the trenches. It's not even going to really be Bryce Young versus our defense. It'll be our defensive line versus Alabama's offensive line. That's what that game will be about.
I'm going to take my stat line to the air. That's my Bryce Young stat line against LSU in November.
72 yards rushing. Here's the thing. This is what this defense showed us today. I know it's just a spring game, but 2020 LSU defense was a complete anomaly. There were so many factors that went into those horrendous performances. Just an outrageous, abundant, disgusting nature of factors going on in that defense, and why that defense looked so horrible. That's not going to happen this year, not with Durante Jones. There's accountability all over that team. Devin Young.
Devin Young, I feel like the defensive line had a better game due to the lack of the run game. They were able to pin their ears back and set off on the quarterback the entire time.
I kind of disagree there, Devin. I wouldn't say there was a lack of a running game. Ty Davis-Price had 76 yards off 15 carries and bursted a few for over 25 yards on him. So I wouldn't say a lack of a running game. John Emery Jr. was, banged up on the sideline. We got like three running backs on the team. We had linebacker Nick Demas taking carries. We had Coy Moore taking carries, a receiver. So when Ty Davis-Price is basically the only workhorse running back in there, the only real running back in there with Trey Bradford, Josh Williams all down as well. Corin Norman is also out as well. Ty Davis-Price is the only healthy running back, and he's had 76 rushing yards. So, and he's just coming back from an injury too. So to say that there's no rushing attack, I have to disagree there.
And I'm not saying this to disparage LSU. I think LSU is one of the top 5 rosters in college football. I'm just saying that I believe Bryce Young, we don't know this at this point. He has yet to take a significant snap or make a significant pass in college football. He's only played in garbage time, but most likely, based on the track record, that by game 10 or 11, that he will be somewhat of a seasoned veteran and will be operating at a high level in Bill O'Brien's offense, and that Alabama juggernaut on offense will be humming.
Well, here's the thing. Unlike Alabama, our offense and our coordinators, our quarterback, they all have some familiarity. George Munoz, he knows those guys. He knows Miles Brennan. He recruited Garrett Nussmeier. He recruited TJ Finley. He recruited Max Johnson. So did DJ Mangus. So even though these guys are first year or whatever, actually they're not. A lot of the people on our staff have been there before. And so Jake Peetz is coming in as offensive coordinator, knowing what's up. Bill O'Brien has never even seen Bryce Young, okay? So like to pretend like Bryce Young is just going to waltz in there and be Dan Marino is an absolute joke, Mark. But then to also say that LSU has no quarterback room and couldn't do it, like that's kind of ridiculous, because I just showed you there's familiarity in that offensive staff with those current quarterbacks. So they're going to do well. It's just the question is, how biased are we going to be pro Alabama before the game actually happens? The question is going to be how much are we going to rip on LSU unfairly? How much are we going to actually watch LSU and actually see what they're doing out there? Or are we just going to say, pencil Bama in? Just pencil them in because they're Alabama. Here's the thing. They won that title last year against the weakest competition you've ever seen in the last 20 years in college football. Everybody knows it. There was nobody out there to stand in their way. Nobody. No one could practice. There was like barely anybody on anyone's roster. Everybody was opting out left and right. Had we had Jamar Chase on our team playing against them, just one player, had we had Jamar Chase still on our team playing against them with, say, Max Johnson starting, I think you actually can put 28 more points on the board for LSU this last December. That's how bad Alabama were. There were chances for TJ Finley to really actually get us into that game early, and he completely blew it, completely pissed himself. That's why LSU lost that game. We threw that game away early and quick. If you have a quarterback who actually takes advantage of opportunities, actually takes advantage of windows, you always have a chance. But once again, LSU's defense were just horrible last year. So Alabama were going to put up 60 or 70 or whatever on us until the cows come home. This year, that ain't happening.
Okay. I just want to put all that in perspective because Alabama played under the same rules as everyone else. They were restricted of practicing and played under the same rules as everyone else, correct? That's correct.
No.
That's not correct.
No, you can monetarily convince a multitude of players out of opting out, Mark. That's something LSU weren't prepared to do with the NCAA sniffing down every piece of real estate on LSU's campus or everywhere in Baton Rouge, let's just be honest, for a multitude of things, deservedly or undeservedly. Alabama does not have that issue. What Alabama did to keep that 2020 team intact, that'll become a part of college football lore pretty soon here.
Okay. Well, that has remained to be seen. I'm not necessarily going to argue or have a discussion based on things that are conjecture. So based on what happened on the field, Alabama clearly had the best team in college football last year. Wasn't even close. And I believe that they played a quality schedule as much as anybody did in the nation. They beat your LSU team by 38 points. And no, I don't believe that Jamar Chase would have been the difference in a 38-point game. They played the likes of Texas A&M and Ole Miss and into the college football playoff or the SEC championship game against Florida, then Notre Dame, Ohio State. And they were clearly the best team in college football and have been the gold standard in the sport for 13 or 14 years. So I'm just stating that. I'm not saying that LSU can't compete with them. They just beat them 2 years ago. I'm not saying that LSU can't win this year. I'm just saying that LSU, I would be shocked if LSU shuts them down. An offense that's been prolific and will continue to be prolific. I see no reason why Alabama won't be continue to be a top 5 offense in college football this year. And I do believe that LSU is a quality quarterback room. I'm just confronting your stance that they clearly have the number 1 quarterback room in the country. I don't see that.
Well, that's fine. I mean, their disagreements or whatever, but I've got all the information to back it up. As far as talent, as far as what they will produce, what they have produced, this is the best quarterback room in the country. Right now, if 2 of those guys could transfer, start anywhere. 3 of those guys could transfer, start 90% of the places. It's pretty shocking room that we got there. And I don't expect all 4 to be on roster come September or October. I don't see that. I see one of these guys leaving, but we'll see. Yeah, we probably won't shut down Alabama's offense. You're probably right there. Probably right to be more conservative on that. But here's the thing, Mark. Alabama have lost, I think it's like 14 assistants, 17 assistants, something like that. They've lost their offensive line coach. They've lost so many people. They've lost their 2 number 1 receivers. You know, who do they have? John Mechie the third is their number 1 guy, and he was what, like high on something a few months back, ripping on Nick Saban on Instagram late at night. Like, that's their number 1 guy. That's their big high-powered offense, ready to bolster Bryce Young. I just don't see it. They're not loaded at receiver like we are. We're 10 deep at receiver. It's an absolute joke. John Trey Kirkland is like the 5th or 6th guy on the depth chart at receiver, and he just had a 200-yard game on that defense who had 5 picks today. You know, you can go through and pick through the weeds here all you want about LSU having problems here or a hole there, but when you look out and you see that defense just going on an absolute mission to turn around what happened last year, send a statement. That was the statement the fans wanted to see today. They didn't need to see 70 points or 60 points put up by our offense or whatever. They wanted to see the defense absolutely just dominate, destroy. And there was no way that offense was going to put up more than 25, 26 points today.
Our guy, it's just me, Tim 79, is just conjecturing that Alabama would be a 7.5 point favorite in the game against LSU. They are playing this year in Tuscaloosa, I believe,
which is where we love to be
alternate. I would put Alabama more in the 10 to 13 point range. That's what I think would be a fair point spread. I think LSU's, again, a tremendously talented team. I delivered earlier this week on my program rankings, not team-specific rankings and not historic rankings, but I rated the programs going into 2021. What I believe, based on the talent on the roster, the coaching staff, the head coach, where these programs stand right now.
Hell yeah.
I had LSU at number 9.
Well, I mean, I bet we'll be here's the thing. We're going to be very underrated. We're going to be very underappreciated because of how bad last year was.
Sure.
And that's the thing, is people want to see that, 2019 was no aberration, and that, what will happen in 2019 and 2021 will be, more of, and 2018. I'm gonna include 2018 as well. We beat number 2 Georgia. We went to I think it was the Fiesta Bowl and won that game as well. So, we were top. I think we finished in the top 5 or 6. So 2018 was a damn good year too. It's just that 28-0 shutout was bad. But that's the thing about Coach Orgeron. It seems like he's a genius at quick turnarounds. And today in the spring game, you saw that defense has a complete 180 from last year, a whole new culture change, a whole new intensity, and it's made up of the complete same players pretty much. Only Jabril Cox and a few other guys are gone from that defense. The rest are there. It's pretty much the same guys who crapped their pants and allowed 39 point something points a game and 400 something yards a game and 9.8 yards a pass play or whatever. Just bad just horrible performances. And they completely turned that around today. The defense is the thing that just sticks out like a sore, just unbelievable in your face. You can't ignore it. And so, yeah, maybe I was a little overexcited saying that we're going to shut down and destroy and dominate Bryce Young. But I love our chances against Bryce Young. I'll put it that way. I think we have every chance to disrupt, to destroy, to dominate that dude in his own backfield. What we're showing with our interior pressure, Mark, we're using the speed of our outside guys to buy our inside guys time now. It's brilliant. Like, everything you've ever thought about defensive line play has been inverted, perverted, distorted, and just shoved right down your face by Andre Carter and this defensive line unit. They were showing some brilliant stuff. I want to get back and watch that tape at some point, and see that defensive line flying around, because there was some brilliant movement going on there. And the pressures as well. The pressures won't be noted, but some of I think those quarterbacks were under nonstop pressure today, and the defensive backs, they weren't allowing anything on the outside mark. Anything. And that was with Dwight McLaughlin in there for Eli Ricks. And you had Jay Ward in his new position at free safety. So, and Jordan Tolles, I think, was starting over Todd Harris, who was, I don't think he played. I don't think I ever saw Todd Harris out there. I think he's actually back re-injured. You saw kind of a makeshift secondary, and they were dominant. This makeshift secondary was dominant. So when you got Eli Ricks back there, and you bring in either Todd Harris or if Jordan Tolles keeps that position, which he looked fantastic today, that defense, that secondary is so shut down, Mark. DBU is back, baby. That's what stood out as well, man. DBU is back. The picks were there, the pass breakups, but the one-on-one tackling from some of these dudes was sick. Jay Ward, he had the 7 tackles. He really stepped in at that free safety role in the tackling department as well.
You're reminding me that I need to attack this DBU topic at some point as well. So I'll post a video at some point. I will look at LSU, Florida, Miami, Ohio State.
No,
which I'm sure has had the most draft picks in the last decade. I don't think there's any question about that. And Texas would be in the running, as well as USC.
Ohio State's had some great draft picks, but they've had some busts. LSU has been dominant in the NFL from secondary. Yeah, we've had a few, busts here and there, but most of them have been dominant. Tre'Davious White, nonstop Pro Bowler. Tyrann Mathieu, Super Bowl champion, nonstop Pro Bowler, and Brady, provocateur. And then you got Patrick Peterson. I mean, it's just, the list goes on and on and on of great DBs at LSU. I mean, Grant Delpit hasn't even played a snap in the NFL yet. He's going to be a great safety as well for Cleveland. I just can't say the same about some of these other schools who are trying to say this and that. Our guys are so influential at what they do at the next level. But yeah, DBU's back today, Mark. Today. Dwight McLaughlin came in, stepped in for Eli Ricks. What did he do? 4 pass breakups, leading the team, shutting down red zone passes as well. Max Johnson had a really, a sniper pass. I think it was to Coy Moore, and he was pretty much wide open. And Dwight McLaughlin recovered brilliantly and just snapped that out of it. Wow. Well, I'm sorry. It's true, Georgia fan. I'm sorry. We
best quarterback room in the country.
We do have the best quarterback room in the country. And 5 minutes later, we are DBU. It's true.
Okay. So the DBU is certainly in question. Again, I'll have to review that. And we can take that on today or historically. You can make that evaluation historically, or you can say who's DBU right now. So there's a couple different ways to look at that. And then again, the quarterback room, again, I'll take a few other quarterback rooms. Regardless of whether
all the time.
Pardon me?
We're DBU all the time.
Yeah, again, I think it's off the top of my head, I think it's legitimately a serious discussion between LSU, Ohio State, LSU and Ohio State at the top, Miami historically, Texas, USC, Florida historically. But for over the last 5 to 10 years, I think LSU and Ohio State would have the best defensive backfield, both in college and moving on to the NFL.
I'd put Ohio State at 2 because guys like Malcolm Jenkins, man, like someone like Malcolm Jenkins, what a career. Like, what an absolute machine that guy's been.